Welcome back to another round, Aces Picks. Now, as you normally know, I like to try and wait until after the weigh-ins to do these, just to make sure that I kind of get all my thoughts together, see how people look on the scales, just to, double check that whatever I was feeling in the moment is correct. However, on this one, I've had to do it early. No doubt, as you're watching this, I'm currently about 20,000 feet in the air. On my way to a destination that you may find out when the next video uploads. That being said, there's two pretty good undercards going on this weekend, but there's also two very 50-50 class undisputed fights. So with the greatest of respect to all the undercards that are going on this weekend, I'm not going to devote any time to those. I'm going straight into the two main events, and I'm going to give my predictions as to what I see going down. So first off, we're going to go with Katie Taylor versus Chantelle Cameron. Now, if we're being totally honest, it should actually be Chantelle Cameron versus Katie Taylor, as Chantelle is the champion and Katie Taylor is the challenger in this particular fight. However, Katie Taylor, we know 100% is the A side. It's her homecoming. This whole event is about her, and Chantelle knows the deal. Luckily, on the night, Chantelle will still be walking second as the champion, and as mandated by her championship status, Katie Taylor will walk first, and I can imagine that will be a rapturous applause from the crowd when she gets out there. Now, I've thought about this fight on several occasions, and each time my mind has changed. Initially, my thoughts were 100% one way. I don't want to say exactly where they are now, just in case that maybe misleads this particular conversation. But let's look at the variables here. So you got Katie Taylor, who most people say has been on the slide for a little while, but she's just leagues above everyone else and is able to grit out, big victories when it matters the most. She'll have pedestrian performances against mandatories and, just other keep busy fights. But when it comes to the big fights, the Christina Leonardo-2s, the Delphine Pursuns, Natasha Jonas, like Amanda Serrano, these fights is when she shows her heart, she shows her grit. So we know that she's got dog. She's a warrior, like without shadow of a doubt. Like if you want to just stand in the middle of the ring and trade, she'll have it with you. But her boxing is what got her to where she is today. On the other side, you've got Chantelle Cameron, a girl who's actually still, again, similar size to Katie Taylor. They're not actually that different, even though Chantelle campaigns at 140. Remember, she started at 135. She only went to 140 to get opportunities because she wasn't going to get a Katie Taylor fight and all the belts were tied up. So she could still quite easily, or maybe not easily, but she could still get down to 135 if she wanted. Now, with this fight, the stylistic advantage is with Katie Taylor, 100%. Not to mention every other advantage in terms of just how this match is played out. Like, Katie Taylor asked for this fight. It's her homecoming, it's her crowd. She is the faster girl. She's the better boxer. She's the more accomplished, she's the more revered, and we know 100% she's got nothing but dog in her, and that when it gets deep and it gets dark, she can get to those places which we haven't seen Chantelle have to go to. Now let's look at one of the variables for Chantelle to say, okay, this could quite easily be a Katie Taylor victory. The whole issue around Shane McGuigan and the Ellie Scotney, Shanika Johnson situation, where she's like, her mindset will be, is so going to be so affected by him being there that she won't be able to concentrate properly. So biggest night, she needs to be 100% focused. I truly believe that if the roles were reversed, Katie Taylor would never let something like that affect her on any given night. All right, you know what? We'll compartmentalize that, put that to the side, we'll deal with it another time. So that potentially shows a little bit of mental fragility there. But we do know that Chantelle is tough, and probably, I believe she's been hit by harder punches than Katie Taylor, and that Katie Taylor has, because Mary McGee was a very hard puncher and Chantelle just stood in the middle of the ring with her at times and just traded. And even Jessica McCaskill, she may not be a great boxer, but I would assume that in terms of like thudding power, she's probably a lot heavier handed than Katie Taylor is as well. So Like, Chantel's definitely been in there with people that can crack, so she's not going to be worried about that. But if we go back to stylistic advantage of Katie Taylor, so yeah, as I said, she's the quicker girl, she's got the better footwork, probably the better IQ, and just the more experience and the more dog that we've seen thus far. But Chantel has been competing at 140 for much longer, so she's more naturally suited to that size. Her movement, her body mechanics, everything is now suited to being that heavier girl, taking those heavier shots, but also throwing those heavier shots. Now, this is set up for Katie Taylor to win extremely easily. All you got to do is use your boxing, use your legs, use the ring, easy night. Any round that is even somewhat close is pretty much getting to you, because this is your time. The problem with Katie Taylor is that she's not going to do that. Yeah, she might box and move in the first round, the second round, just to kind of get, maybe just sort of build up some confidence and some momentum in those moments. But we know when Chantel is there trying to stalk her down, throw into the body, trying to hit her in the exchanges, trying to time her, trying to counter in between the shots, Katie's going to hold her feet and she's going to get stuck in. She's not going to use the jab 1-2 and move off. She's probably going to hit the jab 1-2, try throw a hook in there and just stay in that pocket a little bit too long. And that's where Chantel is going to be able to do her work. I don't even think she's going to headhunt. I think she's going to go to the body. And I wrote these down. I'll put these predictions down on a different sheet, so I've kind of got to stick with them, because if I change them now, they're going to be ultimately wrong to the predictions league that I'm in, and that's going to be a bit of an issue. So look, here's how I see the fight playing out. Katie Taylor's going to come out fast in the first couple of rounds. Again, she's going to hit and move. She's going to use the ring. She's going to feel like she's getting success. Chantel's not really going to be able to land on her that clean in those first couple of rounds. And because of that, Katie Taylor's going to start to plant her feet and feel like she's going to have to let her hands go to, you know, to the roars of the crowd, because she's going to feel like the crowd are not going to be there to watch her just box to 10 2-minute rounds, you know, 20 minutes of work with 9 minutes of break in between. And because of that, I feel like she's going to allow Chantel the opportunity to take that momentum away from her. She's not the fastest, but she's quick enough to be able to get into position to also land her shot. So when Katie is maybe landing 1 or 2, Chantel's still going to be digging a shot to the body. She's going to be slowing Katie's legs down to the point where Katie's going to be like, all right, you know what, forget this moving, let's trade. And at those moments, that's where I feel like Chantel is going to get the better of Katie. We saw what happened in the Amanda Serrano fight around 4, 5 and 6, when she started to, you know, sort of get on top, invest into the body, and we had Katie rocked. Now remember, Amanda's come up from 126 pounds. Chantel catches Katie that same way. Katie may not go, but I think she will go down. I think in this fight, in those middle rounds at some point, Katie Taylor's she's gonna touch the ground. I think her heart, grit and desire is gonna make her come back into the fight strong towards the back end. But I feel like rounds 3, 4, 5, 6, possibly even 7 are going to be rounds where she's almost just trying to survive and hope that Chantel Cameron maybe tires herself out, and she's going to basically go into those championship rounds and maybe claw it back in those. But with all things being fair, and with the judges, you know, scoring the fight in the appropriate manner and maybe not giving too much to the atmosphere, I do truly believe that there's going to be a split decision victory for Chantel Cameron. I think she's going to get a knockdown. She won't get a knockout, but I think that Katie's going to stay in the pocket too long, get caught with something, maybe even get caught in a trade and touch the canvas. And because of that, she, I believe, will catch her first L on Saturday. Now, I could be totally wrong. Again, I haven't seen anyone on the scales. I don't know how they're looking. I don't know what Chantel's eyes are looking like. I don't know what Katie's eyes are looking like. I know that Katie's got heart, so she can't be stopped. I don't think she can be stopped in the ring, quite frankly. But time's not on her side. I think she's 36, 37 now. So yeah, I think it's that time where the younger, slightly bigger, stronger, more vicious lion comes to take over the pride, or the lioness in this case. So my prediction is Chantel Cameron to win via a split decision, but this does nothing to tarnish Katie Taylor's legacy. And if I'm wrong, I'm just as happy, because I rate both of these women as professional athletes and as boxers. So yeah, final prediction, Chantel Cameron on points. Let me know what your predictions are down below, and yeah, we'll see who's right, see who's wrong. Now, the second undisputed fight of the day. I mean, look, it couldn't have worked out any better. Both of these fights were 50-50 fights. This literally is like, there's no wrong answer, there's no obvious answer either. So that's what makes it so great. Now this one is very hard again for me to pick, but because I made a prediction, I've kind of got to stick to that. So I've got to give you the reasons as to why I think the prediction I made is the correct one. Ultimately, let's look at it this way. So Devin Haney, 24 years old, 5'10", I believe he is. Yeah, something like 5'9.5", 5'10". He's not too much shorter than me, so I know that he's, you know, he's tall, he's rangy, he's got very long arms. He's got one of the world's best jabs at the moment in this, you know, sort of in this modern era. His, you know, his overall work, everything about him. If you look at Devin, he's a basic fighter, but he's a basic fighter in the best sense of the word. Like, he does all of the basics extremely well. There's nothing flash, there's nothing sort of special about anything he does, but the basics are all there. They've been well schooled, well drilled, and his levels of concentration and confidence are on another stratosphere. Now, he's been wanting this fight for 4 years. It was confirmed in the press conference. Igor Klimas did confirm that yes, they have actually been chasing for this fight for 4 years, but Vasily Lomachenko was only looking at the champions, looking at the big fights. He didn't have time to sort of just be taking on challengers. But now Devin's got the belts, it makes the most sense. He's older, he's more marketable, so there you go. On the other side, you've got Vasily Lomachenko with, again, like arguably the craziest amateur record like in history. 396-1, 397 fights, only lost one of them and beat that person 4 times afterwards. This is the same guy that is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, but could have actually been a 3-time, and it was only that one defeat he had which stopped him from winning the Olympic gold medal the first time around. So he could be a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, but wear and tear affects everybody. He's now 35, I think, or 30, yeah, he's just turned 35, I believe. So, you know, the legs, the angles he used to be able to throw, like the dexterity, the poise. I mean, he's still got some of it. He's not like he's, you know, he's a totally different guy, but it worked a lot better on the smaller guys that he was actually the same size as. When it comes to these bigger guys now, he has to be more aggressive. He has to kind of sit in front of them a bit more, get them to open up so he can exploit the angles, exploit the movement, and basically move off to their side. Now, basically with Devin's jab, he's going to be looking to keep Vasily Lomachenko on the end of that jab pretty much all night. I feel like he will employ the backhand a little bit, and I feel like he will even look to hook and try to work a little bit on the inside, but ultimately he's going to want to keep Lomachenko at range. Now, it's going to be tricky because Lomachenko is very good at actually slipping past the jab, and whereas Devin's going to be shooting it straight from that left, that natural southpaw stance is going to have Lomachenko wanting to move to his right naturally, to move around the jab and create an angle that if you miss that jab, you've now left yourself open to get encountered. So Devin's got to be extremely careful about that. Loma, again, has also got to be extremely careful about taking unnecessary chances in this fight. He's got to work his way in to mid-range to inside, but he's got to do it through feints and making Haney bite, trying to push him back if possible, not allowing Haney to dictate center of the ring, because if he stays in the center, Lomachenko's not going to be able to get close to him quick enough or sustained enough, because every time he moves around, Haney will just shift his stance, shift his footwork, maybe take 1 or 2 steps back, circle around, get back to the center, get back on the jab. Now, the issue I have, and I've had this issue for a while, if you've watched any of my videos before, you've seen I do not like Devin Haney at 135 anymore. As I said, from 2019, like he was breaking eye sockets, he was knocking people out stone cold. He had the knockout of the year in 2019, and then all of a sudden the pandemic happened. Now he was talking about moving up to 140 back then. Pandemic happens, doesn't box for like 11 months. All of a sudden, like, he can barely crack an egg with the shots. We've seen his body, like we saw in his very last weigh-in how he looked. He didn't even look like that at the weigh-in before. So it just tells you that the body is not in a good place when it comes to this. Now, even though he seems to be doing extremely well to rehydrate back to some form of like elite level, we know that just having to cut that weight in general takes something out of you, and it's probably taken his punch power, and I definitely think it's taken some of his stamina, hence why he has to control the pace of every fight that he's in. Lomachenko is not going to allow him to control the pace here. We've never seen Devin Haney work at a pace more than maybe, say, third gear. Loma might make him move into fourth, fifth and sixth, and if that's the case, can he last the distance? Now, bearing in mind, again, I haven't seen the weigh-in, so I reserve judgment to be totally off on this if he actually looks better. Now, looking throughout this whole week, he seems to have been in a better space than he was in the Kambosos rematch, because he's not wearing glasses all over. Like, his face looks fairly clear, whereas last time he was in glasses for the entire time that he was in Australia making weight, which told you something. This time maybe he's making it a little bit better, so he's not going to look the same. Now, ultimately, the way I've got this fight is, look, Devin is too big. Every time that Loma gets close, Devin is going to employ clinching, holding, using his body to maybe lean, and getting the referee to stop the action and break. The problem with that is Lomachenko, having a former wrestling background as well, not necessarily like professionally, but he trains sort of that wrestling. He trains in ways to get out of clinches, get out of tangles, and to free his arms to work. Like, Devin can't rely on the clinch, so he's literally got to make sure that whatever he's got on the inside works. Like, Loma looks a lot stronger than his size would tell you. So in that sense, I feel like this is going to be predicated on, can Loma get around the jab consistently for 12 rounds to win this decision, or can Devin use his size, his youth, I don't know about the strength advantage, but sort of everything else, reflexes and just spirit, and break the old lion down and ultimately win this on the cards. There's a very small possibility that there could be a stoppage. He has said he feels like he's getting into his man strength and his manpower's coming in now. If that's the case, I don't know how much stripping down the body will take away from that, but that's a potential. And if that is the case, then yeah, it could be a case that there could be a late stoppage for Devin Haney in this fight. But I'm going to go with my gut here. Like, Lomachenko, he's been to the dance so many times, he kind of knows what it takes to get the job done. And with the amateur and the professional pedigree, the level of opponents he's taken from his first fight all the way up to now, if to him it feels like this is his time. And for a lot of people, they feel like, well, Devin can lose this and come again. If Loma loses this, it's last chance saloon, and the game's over. But he was kind of talking as if he had one foot out of the door anyway, and it was sort of, this fight was everything to him. And after this fight, he'll sort of go back to family and just relax and see what he does after that. But chances are, it didn't sound like he was that keen to fight it again. So taking all that into consideration and going back to my initial predications on this fight, and the fact that, again, Haney has wanted this fight, or has called for this fight 4 years ago when no one else was calling for Lomachenko's name. I think he does enough in the first half of this fight to build up momentum and build up a lead. Lomachenko comes back in the middle to late rounds, but maybe gets a bit finicky towards the end, allows Devin to maybe nick one or two of like the last five, while also taking sort of maybe 4 or 5 of the first 6. So my prediction for this fight is that Devin Haney wins via a majority decision. I think one of the judges is gonna score this fight a draw, and I think the other two are going to have it close to like 115, 113, maybe even a 116, 112, or like a 116, 113 if you can't split around. I think he keeps the belts. I think he moves up. The belts get fragmented. Loma might go after one just again as like a last chance saloon, but I definitely think win, lose or draw, Devin Haney's out of the 135 division. So yeah, that's my prediction. So just to recap, I've got Chantel Cameron winning via a split decision, and I've got Devin Haney winning via a majority decision in both of the Undisputed fights. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching, and for right now, that's Basis Picks. Locked.